Hi everyone, no major news today, so let's get straight into the charts. And you can see we did get a second day of consolidation. Makes sense after the big drop, 2 days consolidation, and I would expect some more to come. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So starting off here with fear and greed, we did step down to a 43 from a 48. Pretty substantial step considering the fact that markets did not actually move very much today. You can see continuing to trend lower. I do expect this to continue to go. Maybe we get all the way down to that 125 SMA here on the momentum indicator. That's at 55.35. That would be a pretty decent amount lower. Strength, finally starting to see extreme fear. Extreme fear starting to show up on the indicators. Breadth, not quite there yet. Put call ratio elevating pretty substantially here today. Volatility, basically flat. Safe haven demand back into neutral. And then junk bonds still showing that extreme greed indicator. But today we did get extreme fear finally here on strength. So that is the start of a bottoming process. I don't think it's going to come here soon, but we're starting to see those indicators show up. Moving over to seasonality just for a moment, you can see sideways choppy to bearish price action over the next couple weeks. And that is what we have gotten so far. Pretty bearish, a little bit of choppy, and I'm expecting a little bit more bearish here through the end of the week. Moving over to earnings, not a whole lot. Palantir crushed it, and they did go up a lot. It's already very expensive, and we've been talking about it on the channel a few times, but still up a lot. Realty income beating on the top line, missing on the bottom. Not super concerned about that. They continue to pay really good dividends. Pretty good yield right now in the 4% range, 4.5 somewhere in there. Wynn Resorts missing on both. Consumer discretionaries and travel has not done super well this earnings season. Marathon Petroleum tomorrow, as well as Yum Brands, Coca-Cola Europe, Global Foundries. That could give you some insight into the chip space. That's been a little shaky here recently. Otherwise, not a whole lot. We do get Qualcomm on Wednesday. That's definitely going to be interesting. ARM Holdings, again, some more chip stocks out there. And that'll pretty much wrap it up for the Wednesday. You do have Match Group there, as well as Super Micro. Definitely going to be interesting to see what happens there. Moving over to Max Pain, you can see Max Pain is $5.80 for the Friday session, which is about $10 higher from current price. Tons of puts still in the market, no changes there. You can see it's really positive across the week, up until about mid next week where you see a little bit of bearishness from here, but slightly bullish. You can see $5.80 for the Friday is by far the highest strike for Max Pain. I don't know if it's going to get up that high. That is a full $10 higher from here, but overall, relatively sideways choppy. Maybe see a little bit of a pop here on the 6th. Obviously, there's going to be volatility with the election as well as the FOMC this week. So we'll see how that plays out. Maybe markets rally a little bit after some of that risk comes out of the market. Starting off with the S&Ps here, you can see we're still in this rising wedge, still in this falling portion, still holding that 55 EMA. 567.28 is the level. We almost touched it here today, and then we just barely missed it. Low of day was 172.50. You can see my level there, 569.90, and we did close just barely below it by 9 cents. So you could honestly call that we held the level right here. That is an important level. You can see it marks some tops back here to October, as well as the 3 October level. So waiting to see if this holds up or not. Again, I don't think it will. I think we're headed down to this trend line here, which is in the 560 area. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish, and really this is just sideways consolidation, pull back in time. You can also see we're in bearish conditions here. 9 is below the 21 EMA. So this is rolling up. Even if we did see the rally up, I would expect the retest of that 21 EMA, which would be the major turning point for markets here, especially if this is a left shoulder head, right shoulder. Get that rally up. Retest of the 21 somewhere around the 576, 577 area. Reject from there. Then it's going to be pretty catastrophic in my opinion. And then looking at the short time frames here, again, you can see technically closed just barely below this level. You could argue maybe 568.50 is the level. Touched that back here on Thursday. Touched it again here early in the session. Caught a bit of a bounce. Still lower highs. Still well below the 21 EMA. Still a consolidation. Still stacking all the EMAs and SMAs to the upside. 9, 21, 55, 144, 200. So very much a downtrend. Didn't see a lower low from this Thursday price action, but still expecting this to push 565.16 tomorrow. We'll see if we get there. Obviously, critical level 569.90. Moving over to the Tasty charts, classic pullback in time, slight rally up. 8 EMA was resistance here on the 4-hour chart. Tested it, sold off. We're at that second lowest ATR band. Lowest ATR band right now, 566.30. So that would be your price action. Obviously, this is going to continue to trend lower as these candles open up, but you can see All the ATR bands very much trending lower, accelerating lower here to the downside. And then looking at it here on the hourly chart, you can see we did get a slight flip to bullish conditions. We're back to bearish here today. Bearish conditions here. All the EMAs and SMAs stacked to the upside. Lowest ATR band in the short term, 567.24. Expecting a push to that level. Big volume on the sell candle. Everything says this is going lower tomorrow. Moving over to the NASDAQ, same thesis here. Down about a quarter. Still looking for a touch of that 55. Down at 481.79. Low of day was 484.25. Momentum bearish. RSI still bearish. Not a whole lot of volume again. Classic Monday inside candle, but still expecting this to continue to roll, at least touch that 55, and then we'll see what happens. We also got the death cross on the 9 and 21 EMAs, so the 9 is now below the 21, so that is a technical bear trend. You can see, just like back here, when you start to get these shifting trends, you do expect at least a little bit more selling. We'll see how it plays out in tomorrow's session, but you did get that cross. We haven't been inverted since back here in September. You can see the cross back here. Once you get it, usually there's a little bit more downside to come at a minimum, so see how it plays out. Right now, bearish conditions on the short time frames for sure. And speaking of the short time frames, you can see sideways consolidation. We did hold a very slightly higher low from this Thursday, which gave me a little bit of hesitation here. You can see a huge pin bar on the open of the market, got all the way down to what ended up being the low of day at that 484.25 area, which is in the same consolidation from that Thursday low. Didn't quite eclipse that low. Tried to rally up, failed, tried to rally again, hit the 21 and rejected. So everything says bearish, and we ended up closing below my level, 486.84. As long as we're below that, we're still in bearish conditions. And you can see here now on the NASDAQ, these are back into fully bearish with the 921.55. 144 and 200, so fully bearish conditions with all the EMAs and SMAs stacked to the upside from price, indicating that bear trend. Then looking at the 4-hour chart here, 8 EMA and that 144 ended up being very critical. Obviously still bearish conditions, didn't get anywhere near the trailing stops. All the EMAs and SMAs stacked to the upside. 144 was your resistance here today, and right now that's at 488.99. So if we get back into that zone, that was kind of the top over the last 2 trading days. Volume, basically nothing. Hit that second lowest ATR band. All the bands are trending lower, just like the SPY. Lowest band target right now, 481.52, so right in that same area as the 55 on the previous chart. And then looking at the hourly chart, still bearish conditions here. We did see a slight flip on the previous day's trading just for a little bit, and now we're back into bearish conditions. Trailing stop at 491.04. All the EMAs stacked here on the hourly chart. Lowest band target right now, 484.32. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, the Russell ended up being the top performer here, 0.51 to the upside. We ended up bouncing off this trend line here, just like we talked about it in the Friday video, as well as the Sunday video. Ended up playing out perfectly. Still couldn't quite get to that 221.49 level on a closing basis, but we did touch it. Good candle. Want to see it continue here, holding support right now. Everything looks good. Step to bullish on momentum. RSI, want to see it get through the SMA. Overall, structurally, still looks good with a low, higher low. Want to see this push to the trend up here around 224.77, so we'll see if that continues to play. Overall, good candle. Want to see this continue. Dow, dumpster fire, down 0.5% right at the 55. And this actually looks like the worst on the chart now. So you can see well below the short-term EMAs right at the 55. 55 was 418.22 and we closed at 418.05. So technically closed below it. Bearish momentum, bearish RSI. See if this continues to play. Next level for me, 412. Doesn't look super great. And structurally, this is starting to change here. You can see we haven't been below that 55 since all the way back here in August. And that was a big move even to touch it, and we ended up getting the continuation back from it. So we'll see if it plays out. That ended up bouncing off the 144 EMA, which right now is all the way around that 400.74 level. If we did get a new touch of that level, that's all the way down around 4% lower. So see if that plays out. Certainly could. Moving over to Palantir here just for a moment, you can see it's been in this very consistent uptrend. Broke the trend line, broke back into it here, and now you can see that up candle on earnings, 12.85% to the upside. Huge move there off this 55 EMA, ended up holding into earnings. Obviously, almost overbought already at 69.64. It's been a very powerful run. Can this continue up off of earnings? Absolutely, and it does look very, very strong still. In terms of levels, there's really nothing here to the upside. This is an all-time high for Palantir, so this is also price discovery. Not a whole lot of trend lines to work with. The only thing you really had was this. I'm sure if you put some structure on this here, maybe you could put some upper limits to work off of, but for now, price discovery for me, who knows where it's going, but maybe there's some decent follow-through on that earnings catalyst. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Both of these were down just about the same, 0.4, 0.47, momentum bearish, RSI still bearish. Microsoft right at the lows here from the beginning of October. You can see it here, 7 and 8 October. I think this is going to break tomorrow. I think we'll head at least to the 401.80 area, back into this previous lows here from August as well as beginning of September. And then once those break down, I think we're headed back into this range here. Been talking about it for a while. I think Microsoft looks pretty terrible here over the short term. Structurally not great, waiting for this to accelerate to the downside, well below all the EMAs and SMAs. And then looking at Apple, also below all the short-term EMAs and SMAs, looking for a touch of that 144. Right at the trend, right at the level, 211.55 seems like the most interesting area for this to find some support. And I do think it will get here and then see what happens after that. Moving over to NVIDIA and Tesla, you can see both of these were okay on the day. Tesla down 2.5%, continuing to fall. This is 6 days in a row of bearishness after the very powerful day we had here on their earnings day. Was up 22%. So far, we've round tripped to the bottom of the gap up. Obviously, we're still way higher than we were on earnings 214. I think we're going to get down to this trend, find some support in here, have the higher low setup. Let's go ahead and zoom out on that a little bit. You got a couple of touches of this trend line here. If we hit that trend line again, I think we're going to get a nice little pop off of there. I don't think this is going to continue to break down. It did have very good earnings, very good forward guide. Markets liked it a lot. And then you got NVIDIA up about 0.5%. Honestly, I thought it would do better off of what we heard about it getting included in the Dow, replacing Intel. It's right at the trend line. If it's going to hold up, probably going to do it here. If it breaks down from here, 130.35 is the next level. Momentum bearish. We'll see if this flattens out tomorrow. RSI still bearish. Even if it rallied up, I would expect a rejection off of the SMA. So rally up, hit the SMA, and then get that continuation lower. So see how it plays. Right now, holding support. If it rallies, 140.76 is the level. Moving over to Alphabet and Amazon, you can see Amazon was down 1.09, Alphabet 1.14. These two have been moving pretty close, especially with their earnings both being very good and then giving a lot of that back. Alphabet has given all of it back now, fully round tripping the earnings move back below the 170.95 level. Let's see if it holds up here. The SMA on the RSI is right here. So if it's going to touch and hold, it needs to do it here. Let's see if it does. There's some EMAs and SMAs in there. You can see the level I'm watching, 169.81. Touched that level, caught a little bit of a bounce. If it gets back above 170.95, maybe that's a little bit bullish. Certainly could be. It had good earnings like we talked about. And then looking at Amazon, gap up, gap down after hitting the 255 cents level. We talked about that being super critical. High there was $200.50, so missed it by 5 cents, but we're calling it a touch. Right here at the highs, touched that level, rejected from there. Touch this level now, 194.49. We'll see if it ends up holding there. Might pull back, touch the trend a little bit, but I would expect this to continue to hold up. Both of these should do okay. Even if markets start to crater, Amazon and Alphabet were the top performers out of the Mag 7. Moving over to staples and discretionaries. Staples holding up here still, positive on the day, 0.27. Couldn't get above 80.54, but we did get a test. This is 4 days in a row now of consolidation at a zone of support. 79.90 was the level. Didn't quite get down and touch it. Momentum swinging here. I do like this to push a little bit, maybe another dollar up to the 180 area. Still very much a downtrend, but I think we see a slight rally up into the top of this channel, and then we'll see what happens there. And then discretionaries ended up down 0.34, very much a consolidation. Looking at this as a rejection, momentum bearish, RSI bearish, everything looks weak. Still in this consolidation, still sitting right on top of the 9 EMA. It's worth noting the 921 VWAP are all still in technically bullish conditions, but we are in the same price action we've been in since the end of September. So it's been a long time, sideways choppy, a little bit of volatility, but same trading range. Moving over to oil and gas and real estate. We got oil and gas up 1.9%, doing well, momentum stepping to bullish. Maybe this is finally the start of the move that we've been hoping for. We're right at the SMA once again, waiting to see if it can break higher. Watching this one closely, let's go ahead and set an alert. Put it right there. I think 132.52 makes sense. Pretty much right at the highs of this consolidation. We'll see what happens. And then obviously 135.07 critical. Let's go ahead and throw this just below the level. Wait to see if it plays. I do like this. Even if it held here, this is a higher low off these previous setups. Step to bullish on momentum. Seems like oil and gas might have something in it here. And then real estate, also good day, 1.12%. This is the real estate sector ETF, the spider fund for real estate. So think I might put this in the rotation right now, kind of in a sideways choppy action. We've been in the same trading range really since mid-August. Doesn't move a ton, but you can see it had a really powerful rally from April up until about September, where it went from 35 up to 45. So had a pretty good run there. Now we're kind of in a sideways consolidative, sideways choppy area. Right now, 42.84 is the support. Touched that on Friday, caught a bounce. See if it has a little bit more rally in it. Overall, though, it seems like the dividend payers are the ones that are doing best. We got oil and gas and real estate as the top performers. Moving over to Breadth, we did get a step towards bullish on Breadth here for the 20-day Breadth. We've been stepping to bearish. We now have a doji candle slightly positive, close to positive. It was technically flat on the day. And then looking at 50-day, same here, 2 steps to bullish. We're still well below the SMA, so I would expect a lower high rejection and then a lower low to come. But for now, might see just a little bit of a retracement. Wouldn't expect it to last super long. Maybe we get into the 62.25 area. Maybe this gets back up into the 48 to 51 area, retest in here and then get the continuation lower. But for now, seems like a little bit of consolidation, maybe a slight retracement and then a continuation lower. Moving over to the put call ratio, you can see this arcing to the upside, really high levels. At 1.27, you don't see that super often. 1.4 is the first level. You can see that we had the spike up into the 2s. Now this is accelerating back to the upside. Markets are definitely concerned about what's going to happen over the next couple days. Put call ratio reflecting some fear in the market. So we talked about it on Max Payne. It's definitely happening here. We'll see if this continues to play out. But it's at a high level. It's been in this kind of trending action here. This has been the wick highs, and it did touch it. I think this is probably going to go a little bit higher before we start to see markets bottom out, but we're definitely seeing this kind of ramping action here on the put call ratio. Moving over to the dollar, what a classic pattern here on the daily chart. You can see the huge ramp up, topping pattern, wick the highs, failed. And just as it looked like it was going to fail, you got the big candle up and then very quickly retraced that. So we stopped all those people out that thought they were getting excited in for this bear push, and they were absolutely correct. We ended up getting the continuation bearish here, 0.42, pretty big candle there for the dollar. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. This is definitely going lower in my opinion. Right now, your support is 103.64. We'll see if this trend support in here, 103.37, ends up holding, but interesting again, bearish on markets, bearish on the dollar. These are moving in tandem. It's not common, but it continues to do it. If the dollar starts to sell off fairly aggressive, maybe that can prop up equities, but equities still do not look very good in my opinion. Either way, just going to continue to watch it, waiting to see if these start to behave normally with the dollar selling off, giving equity strength, or vice versa. Moving over to bonds, pretty much the same thesis here. You had that kind of waterfall action on Friday. That was the capitulation move, in my opinion. Huge move, 0.5% on JNK. TLT was a big move as well, 1.74%. We ended up retracing all of that move, gapping right to the high of that candle here from Friday as well. Still waiting to see it get above 92.82. I think it's going to do it. This has been fading on that downwards momentum. You can see huge volume on that Friday price action and then the gap up. Again, indicating this is probably done here. You can see the rally above the SMA, super oversold, consolidation, higher low setup here on the RSI. Everything for me says this is going to go a little bit higher here. Still watching it, waiting for the clean break, but definitely seems like it's ready to go here on TLT. Moving over to the VIX, you can see the VIX was slightly positive on the day, hit the level again, 2250. Can't seem to get above that level and hold for very long. Momentum still bullish, RSI still bullish. The fact that the VIX is staying this elevated with price action staying relatively flat on the day says to me that markets are going to be headed much lower in my opinion. We'll see how it goes, waiting to see it break above here. I want to see it touch that 28 level before I really look for a bottom, but we'll see. Right now, it's kind of at this consolidation high, mark to top. We're right here once again, waiting to see if this breaks out or not. Moving over to my accounts, I managed to squeeze out a couple $100. I traded in and out of a couple positions in my main account. Only managed to make $18, but hey, you know, it's better to be positive than not. And we had the NASDAQ and the SPY down about 0.25%, so I didn't participate in that down move. So we'll call it a win. And then obviously the IWM did well, up to 220, which ended up about $1 higher. You can see it positive there. Still in profit here on the covered calls for tomorrow. Max profit there is 221.48, so plenty of room to the upside. Still hopefully going to make a little bit of money on the calls. Ended up being a pretty good trade there. It is down just a smidgen after hours, but we'll see how it plays. Overall, still bullish on the Russell, still bearish on just about everything else. Let me know down in the comments section what you think is going to happen tomorrow. Are we going to get the big sell-off, the big continuation move? Is the election going to spook markets? What do you think is going to happen there? Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.